guys made it through here today. I am very aware of the level of movement that is happening in our world, in ourselves, because it's really happening internally. The world is a mirror of that. And for me, it's very important to be available for grace, ease, agility, adaptability, um, and pivoting. There are so many parts of us and places where we show up that doesn't offer, our jobs, our families, our, commitments that don't offer the ability for pivoting. It's important that we get ourselves to a place where we can bring in what's next, and we're going to be talking about that. So what you're moving to, the pace that you're moving at, is all part of the plan. The shift and the change and the evolution is so quantum. I'm always going to be about staying awake, right? Staying awake. And I had a mentor that would literally do this, like, wake up, and slap, clap in our faces, right? Like, this is what we're here for, right? And um there's very precise energy coming through this time, and I always like to share it so that we can get an opportunity to check in and see if any of these pieces are in relation to what we're realizing about ourselves, right? So one of the things that I know to be true, right, we keep talking about this death and this rebirth, right? And we're in the birth canal. It's almost like we can start to see the light, right? And it's like, um it's a little bit that effect of it's darkest right before the dawn. It may get like super chaotic, right? Like that moment where it's like, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, right? Like that crowning effect and all the things that happen in the rebirth, where it's just like so much excitement, so much chaos, so much happening at once that it's almost like happening for us, right? And that's very much the sensation of these times, right? And then the overlaying reality that I've been able to connect to is this sense of purging, right? It's almost like we are letting go and releasing everything that would be that no longer is true for us. I'm going to start at that layer that no longer is true for us, right? And there gets to be some compassion, right? And some acceptance around, yeah, it could have been true at one point. It could have been the thing that you absolutely loved and that you were most passionate about and that excited you most, right? And no longer holds that energy for you, right? And sometimes when we feel that way, there's like the little bit of like self-doubt and questioning and emotions of like, well, is there something wrong with me? This used to have such an on button for me and it no longer does, right? Or this was the thing that I would give my life for and it no longer does. And that can bring in a lot of different mixed feelings. Sometimes it's shame, sometimes it's self-doubt, sometimes it's like feeling lost in your own body, right? That feeling of like, who am I, right? Like, and where did the real version of me go, right? So all of these things are to help you really understand that there's a purpose to this during these times. It's part of the death rebirth experience. And the purging is like that last, almost uh somatic automatic release, right? So I invite you to look at what you have that is no longer serving or no longer true for you. And it could be conditioned dreams, like dreams that you were sold on by culture and society and, our tribe, right? Things that we were told were going to be the happiest and most successful and most exciting thing that no longer holds any water for you. Like, that's a lot of what we're purging, right? We get sold on so much culture by our family. Like, they tell us things that they understand would be the do all end all, and we bought into it. And it was our truth. And it was the thing we've been kind of committed to and chasing and getting to the the end line. And now it's just not holding it. You may be purging it. You may just be letting it go, and that's okay. What emotions are you purging? What attachments? Yeah, like emotional attachments to a way of being, a way of looking, a way of being received. All of this is being purged. Like, think about a whole new layer coming through. What have you idolized that no longer serves you, right? It may be a concept, it may be a lifestyle that you idolized, right? Like, oh, when I get to do these things, and all of a sudden you're finding yourself like not really that excited about them anymore, but not trusting this new version of you enough to to let it go. It's going to be a tough truth telling conversation, right? Because some of these things were your long lost loves for a long time. But I want to declare that if you're feeling yourself questioning these things, even ideas or visions or dreams that we had, one day I'm going to do this thing and it's going to be about this. And all of a sudden you're thinking about it and it no longer holds that point, let it go. It's about purging. That's what this time is going to be. So, our first question is going to be like, what do you feel you're purging, right? And then we are going to move in to this phase where we're going to be in this stage of like disclosure, right? I'm calling it, like, one of my mentors called it the personal disclosure phase. And that's where divine is going to start to show us what you came here for. If you know that, start to claim it. Like, I want to find deeper inspiration or new inspiration. I want to know what my purpose is. And the thing about this personal disclosure phase that's going to be a challenge is that it's going to be that individual, unique, multi-dimensional um experience where you may even feel like what you're being, like what's nudging you doesn't even match. It's almost like you're gonna like pick out an outfit that you would never pick out, and it's like you've got winter clothes on with shorts kind of thing. Like, these two things don't even live in the same lifetime and timeline, right? I'm gonna let you know that that's what this new phase is about. This new phase is a very multi-dimensional phase where we're going to be able to show up as everything, right? Like the priestess that, you know, does I don't know, lays down on the floor and does belly dances, right? Like that kind of thing where it's like random, unrelated, totally opposite things are all of the sudden going to find the thread and the link to the fact that it's who you are and it's your full self-expression. So our second question is going to be, what do you feel is starting to glimmer around what's being disclosed to you? And it's an opportunity for you to start to share like the really weird and random pieces, right? Like, I'm always going to go first. There was a part of me in the past that saw and felt a lot of validation and achievement around being in the front of the room, let's say, right? Like being on stages, being in the right rooms, being known, right? Like, for a while, I worked very hard the networking, coaching, social scene, and it gave me a lot of validation to like walk into a room and have people know who I was and what I was up to, or even kind of glance over and see people saying, "Oh, that's such and such, and she's the friend of such and such," right? There was a version of me that I know I've purged. I am like, and for a while it was like, oh my God, like, really, this is what you're gonna do? You're being lazy, you're being unproductive, you're being like, I had all the shame and guilt around that. And now it's just like a version that's like, yep, she's not here any longer, right? And then in terms of personal disclosure, I know that I'm being guided to a higher sense of personal and sovereign abundance, like really snapping women out of this crappy money, like matrix story. And I'm talking about busting some big paradigms, right? Where we're not even aware of how much of a matrix we're in financially and getting ourselves out of these holes, mindset and otherwise. So those are like my two that I've already put my finger on. Yeah. My invitation is, if you thought about this for half a second, which is all you're going to get, right? Because it's being introduced, but it's an opportunity to get you into the exercise. Like, which one of these sides can you connect to? What you're purging, or what's being disclosed is new, and or maybe both, and what is it? So that's the question for today. And I'd love for you guys to take it on and just play with it a little bit. Try it on for size.